Welcome everybody to another edition of Deconversion Stories, and today I'm talking with ChuBs008, I guess, or 008 Chubs is your Twitter handle, which is in the description below, by the way. And I also have his YouTube channel link in the description below. Plus, if you're a person that is watching and you're kind of having issues about deconversion and leaving faith behind, there are also helpful links below, like Recovering from Religion, Secular Therapy Project, and the Clergy Project as well. And if you like what I do and you want to help support my channel, I have a link to my PayPal me as well. And I'm always always looking for helpful donations if you have it in mind to do so. Anyways, Chubbs, man, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to when you first started sort of thinking about religion, thinking about what you knew or how you believed and what kind of rubbed you the wrong way and started you on your path to leaving these beliefs behind and becoming somewhat of an activist that you are today.
Sure. Well, I come from South. I'm right outside New Orleans, and very Catholic South. All the grammar schools are Saint something. All the high schools are Archbishop something. Mine was Archbishop Rummel. But 12 years of Catholic school, and that includes Sunday school as well. And it was around, I was 10, it was 1986, and airplane, great.
I live in an airplane zone too, so it might happen here. Oh, and trains go by here every fucking couple hours. So.
Oh, I have trains too. I'm right near the tracks that goes into New Orleans, but so yeah, I was 10, and we do Stations of the Cross. I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but short version, they go through the minutes up to Jesus' death in succession. And it was in those moments that I really looked at the text and what I was reading, and I just didn't buy it. And around here, you can go into like a doctor's office and there'll be books about Noah, and it's everywhere, literally. So at that moment, I actually started to get into it more. I started to do research. I went to church on my own, and I started to read the Bible on my own. And before I reached the age of confirmation, I took myself out of the equation. And back then, the late 80s, early 90s, you really couldn't come out and tell people you're an atheist. So
that's right.
Yeah. I can tell you through high school years, when people did find out, I was bombarded with, well, where do you think we come from? And, those usual questions. And for us to get a diploma in high school, you needed 4 years of religion. So every year I would go up to the teacher and say, listen, I'm an atheist, but I'm going to pay attention. And that would lead to some conversations. But because in our schools, every morning you had to say the Our Father. They prayed before everything.
They did that in mine too, and it wasn't even religious.
One of my kids just graduated high school, and they prayed at his graduation ceremony for public school. And I didn't think they did that or could do that, but so when I hear them say, "Oh, we're persecuted," and it's like, well, it's a little bit more prominent than I think they know it is. But so, and honestly, I've never stopped reading into it or looking into it, and it wasn't, and I've been watching the atheist community like on YouTube for a long time. I watched as people as the Amazing Atheist or somebody like that. Well, a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Shives, you name it. But now those people are talking politics or,
Sure.
things like that. And they got off the subject. And luckily there is a new group of very intelligent people coming onto the scene and breaking everything down. I started to step in, and I threw my hat into a couple debates on modern day debate and this and that, when I started to hear things like, well, atheists always come from households without fathers, and they always are suicidal. And I said, well, actually, my parents are still together. My father's great, and how can you teach your kids to be moral and this and that? And I have 3 kids, and, they're wonderful people. And
That's great.
and I couldn't take the fact that like they weren't just talking bad, but like trying to really put us down. And that's when I stepped in and thought, okay, I have to say something as a father, as a husband, because it's funny, like I'm on my second marriage, but like the first one I got married in the church, mostly for like my mom and people who wanted that. But the second time, because when you get divorced, you can't marry in the church anymore. And
that's right.
So so like, and some of the churches down here are extremely beautiful, so we couldn't even do that.
I agree, man. I've always liked church architecture. Architecture has sort of been a thing of mine anyways. I went to Europe and saw a bunch of massive cathedrals and you name it, right? And it's just beautiful artwork.
Yeah. And those are the little things that bug me. Like, just because of that, we couldn't even talk to the church about that marriage. So those are the things that make me speak out and want to say, okay, so you want to stop everything from happening on your end. But when we speak out, we are just, I literally get called a heathen, in a regular setting.
You need to buy a Godless Engineer Heathen t-shirt then, buddy.
Yeah, I actually want to. There's a bunch of people. There's a lot of people with some good merch out there. And so, so I came onto the scene telling people I'm coming as a normal person. I don't have a PhD in anything. I did go to college, but people want to argue evolution, but like, how many of these people have PhDs in the subject? And
well, yeah, I know.
And well, that you can be smart, but like they want to harp on like fighting Kent Hovind or somebody, and it's like, what's the point? That these people are not like those people. To me, I see the shtick they're going for. He'll say something and go, "Well, you can buy that on my disc," and it's like, oh, well, you're selling salvation to people. So I think that's atrocious, but we also give a lot of breaks to religion, and that's a big problem. Something like the Ark that they built,
I know, utterly ridiculous.
And out here, there's a lot of people. They ask for a lot of money. Let me just put it that way. So, and when the churches look better than the housing, to me, that's a problem. So, I'm not on. I'm not an anti-theist. I don't attack them, but I like to sit and talk to people, and I try and get to for them to think. But I see a big block where, I'm going on 32 years of being an atheist, and the questions are still the same, and the arguments are still the same, where they talk about, well, where did we come from? And I'll go, well, you don't have a time machine. We can't find out. Why don't we talk about right now? It wasn't too long ago they thought God was the reason volcanoes happened, or they would sacrifice people to get rain when it's a drought. But they think, a God put two people in the jungle, when we think we come from, I don't want to say monkeys, but a long line.
Common ancestry.
Right. And so I'm trying to just talk for them as the normal person, where what is the person who goes to work from 9 to 5? If you're going to talk about God, how is that going to help that person? Somebody who's poor, somebody who has medical problems, how is that going to help that person? Because you can pray all you want. You need to talk about real life in a way where, if you don't, like, people talking about putting my youngest son in catechism right now. So I'm not fighting that. Yeah, I'm not fighting that, but they're kind of just telling me that's the way it is. And it's like, oh, because my other kids, I sat them down and told them what religion is and the way I think about it, and I let them choose. I never push what I want or what I think, but I just made them think and said my major point is be a good person. And that's how you should live. And they've turned out great. But like I said, you can see him praying in public school, and so it's not gone, but it's definitely not as militaristic as like my high school was.
Right.
So that's where I'm at now, where I've thrown my hat in the ring because I'm tired of being portrayed as we have the whole right now. The moral thing keeps coming up. Like, how are you moral?
Yes.
And
one of my
I'm
favorites.
Yeah, and when I'm asked, I say, well, if we were to think like them, we would just kill everybody. And they need a God to not kill, and they can't, how is it life is not precious? I get asked, and I said, well, no, of course, that's the only thing we have is life, and that's what needs to be precious. And it's a constant battle. The more I talk up, the more people come out to, nobody attacks me, but I'm getting a lot more feedback, and some people are good about it. Like that show you saw when I was talking to Josh, like he wasn't that bad. Like
I still commend you on that, man, because I don't know if I could last more than 10 minutes talking to Josh Brister. That's some serious fucking atheistic bravery right there.
I think that what helped with that was he didn't think I was a part of the bigger community at large. Like I wasn't popping up on a bunch of other shows because I didn't mention any other names, but I'll talk to anybody, as and if it gets out of hand, then I'll address it. But later on, I did hear more things about that, and other people. Like lately, somebody like G-Man, who everybody knows, has been saying how he always likes to. He's one of the ones like, how can you live morally, and those kind of questions. And they never actually stopped to ask us, but I can't understand how they. And it's funny that they don't actually listen. They won't. It's the Bible or nothing. And then you get the Old Testament is not really what we're looking at. It's like, wait, you said you want to use God, but not the whole book.
Right.
My favorite to me, I always say, so you need a God that needs a book. That's kind of strange, but okay. And it was written by man, but that's all right. And he could create the universe, but he also needed to rest on the last day. Well, that's kind of odd. Then I love the people who had to be 900 years old. Like that's pretty peculiar. But then they always say something like, well, that was before the flood. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
But
I tell you, dude, if this God was going to write a book, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't need a bunch of fucking goat herders in the Middle East to do it for him. I'm sure he could write this literally like Thanos with the fucking Infinity Glove. He could snap his fingers and it would be a volumed book with everything every message he ever meant to send to us. And because he's got these powers, he's omnipotent, he could make that book legible by anybody, anywhere on the planet that picked it up and flipped open the pages. It would be instantly in their language, so they could read it.
Oh, exactly. And when I read through it, I love how a lot of it is so generic. Like, well, thou shalt do this, and it's like, okay, well, they're never specific, and they don't pertain to anything but their time, what was happening in that time. I went back and looked at the Bible through a military aspect because I like military history, and some of it makes sense that way. Like from Moses to Joshua to David, like those battles happened. Those people aren't always mentioned. But to me, if the Bible's true, something like Jericho, where the wall fell, they stopped the story there. But if you read more, it's one of those where God said to kill everybody and the animals. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not a God I really want to follow, kill the babies and everything else. So, but
exactly. Yeah.
I ask questions like, okay, well, where are the artifacts? Where's the Ark and the Spear of Destiny? And there's nothing except maybe the Noah's Ark is on a mountain, but they won't go actually get something from it. I like that one. But, and I like to ask, well, okay, let's say the Bible's true and it's full of angels and demons and fiery chariots, and nothing has happened in 2,000 years. Nobody's seen anything like that in any way, shape, or form. But it happened then. But to me, I'm like, well, nothing happened since then, and that would be a good way to prove your God is real if anything happened. But
well, wasn't Jesus supposed to come back during the time of his apostles? Did it not? I can't remember where it says that, but I think it does say that.
It does. It says in their time.
Yeah.
And then that goes a little bit into Revelation, which it does. Nobody bothers to bring up on the Christian side that Revelation in and of itself, by definition, is a dream. Somebody wrote down dreams, and then they say, well, this is what's going to happen. It's like, oh, okay, well, a 7-headed dragon. Okay, that doesn't, one, seem real, or two, going to help me in my real life right now. And so that I really wish the debates would get away from, okay, slavery in the Bible, or those conversations need to happen. But there's a million videos on evolution and slavery and this and that and prophecy and all those, just the quote unquote out of this world subjects. But again, I want to talk about how is your God and your religion, I don't care what religion it is, going to help the guy and girl in the family, whoever that has to live in this life, get up, do a 9-to-5 job, and try and make it work. And to me, God or not, this is what we have to deal with in our real life. And then they go into morality, and it's like, okay, well, again, you can judge everybody on their own merit at this point. You don't need anybody, any supernatural person to do it. You could worship the sun god, and still there's nothing that's going to do to help what the real person has to do. So that's why I throw my hat in the ring to try and be like, you need to talk to us on a level where it doesn't need to, make sense or not. How's it going to help? How's it really going to help? And in one of the debates, they were talking about, if like miracles, and I saw this happen, and I said, okay, well, so you're saying if we're standing next to each other and somebody shoots at us and the bullet misses you and hits me, you were saved. What does that say about the other person? Like, were they just damned? And they didn't have a straight answer. And it's, because I hear, oh, this miracle and this happened. And to me, that's the same as a football player who makes the sign of the cross after a touchdown. And it's like, okay, that's great. But there's a couple thousand babies with cancer right now who are dying. That's where the miracle really could be needed.
Well, obviously God bet on his team.
That's right. He was busy watching football. And so that's my question, because, I've actually lost a child.
Oh, man, really? I'm sorry.
Oh, I appreciate it, but a lot of people ask me, well, is that when you became an atheist? I get that a lot when I had anything bad happen. Was it after that? And I said, no, it was actually way before any of that happened. And that surprises them. And they're like, oh, and it's like, well, that's the point. Like, I don't believe what you're selling me in that book. One of the lines in Stations of the Cross that got me back then was, God said, if you do all these things unto me, I will be your friend. And I said, well, that's not a good deal. Like, you're asking everything of us, but we get returned. We might go to heaven. And that didn't make sense, so, and being Catholic, you have to go to confession, and you can either kneel or go in to see the priest. I made it a point to go in. I mean, I really started to look into and ask really deep questions, and found out I was getting less and less answers from
the priest.
Yeah. I had priests and nuns as teachers, literally got slapped with rulers as a kid, those type of things. Had brothers as teachers in high school who lived on the property, and no real good answers. One of my senior year, my religion teacher was so distraught about me being an atheist. He asked me if he could talk to me, and I gave up half of my lunch the second half of the year to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just couldn't understand how, like, you hear, well, how can you not look out and see beautiful things? And I said, well, I can see how from the flowers dying and being reborn to people being born and they die. Why not? We are born, we die, and we teach the people under us what we've learned, and that's how life keeps going on.
Yeah, that's how you leave a legacy, right?
Right. And like when they say, oh, so you think your life's worth nothing, and it's like, no. When you're gone, if people talk about you and to talk to others about how good you are when you are alive, that's your legacy. That's who you are. That's the essence of you. And it's still like the whole, if a tornado goes through a junkyard basic thing, like, okay.
Yeah. And the first time I heard that, I cracked up.
Oh, I tell you. And I actually stump them sometimes when I say, you know what? I agree. Everything is super complex. Like, it's really amazing how things are, but neither side can point out what did it. Like, look at this book. Well, we know where the book comes from. And it's like, okay, the universe, nobody, again, without a time machine, can tell us what happened. We need to live here and now. And they're not going to be able to help us with that. We
do have evidence that we can make inferences from, and that's pretty much how science works. When you're dealing with past events, we can only come up with answers based on whatever's left behind, right? So we make inferences from that, put them to the test, see what we get, peer review, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. And lately, I was telling somebody, they like to say, oh, they're pushing evolution in the schools, and for anybody listening,
so they're pushing the truth.
Well, yeah, but to me, I went to high school in the 90s. I have two sons that graduated high school in the last 5 years, and a son that's in first grade. None of us were taught evolution more than maybe one day in school. So they say it's being pushed and put. No, it's brought up, and then people move on. Like, nobody sits and talks that much about it. It's you talking that much about it. And I actually, if they were to put both and say, here's evolution or what religion says, but somebody like Ray Comfort, who writes in front of Darwin's book and goes and hands it out, like, that's totally demeaning what should be said. But I like to bring that up to people. Like, evolution is not taught more than just a little bit in school. Like, it's not pushed. Nobody remembers that much about it. They just keep moving on. And whenever they say it's a religion, I always say, well, religion needs a deity. Who's the god of religion? Not, and, oh, well, Dawkins? No, none of those people. We don't look at anybody as a god, and religion needs a god. So that's my answer when they say that. And I love when that comes up because, I like the one thing I bring up. If anybody doesn't know, there's a great movie called The Ghost in the Darkness, which is about two lions. And in real life, those lions did exist, and they lived in an area in Africa with giant thorn bushes. And over time, they lost their manes. So those male lions didn't grow manes. To me, that's that's something evolving. And that's, to me, that's evolution. I don't need to go back to our, did we all come from, an amoeba? The scientists will figure that out. But that's something that happened in real life. And I can see that. And those lions are actually in the Field Museum in Chicago. But male lions lost their manes. That's something evolving. But they go, oh, well, no kind turned into another kind. I'm like, yeah, I get it. What kind of dog you have? That's easy. I don't care. But
the kind thing always kind of blew my mind anyways. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about?
That's one of those things, again, like, what does it matter in the end? But then that you get somebody, again, who might be selling that, like the religious sell it on a disc. Here's my DVD. And it's like, oh, well, that's what you're trying to do. Why not but whatever, they say the Great Flood caused the Grand Canyon, and we're all like,
Right.
There's actually a river running through it, and we can see it. Or there's shells at the top of Mount Everest, but not on every other mountain in the world. So
I just want to point out that what you were talking about with the lions losing their manes due to their surroundings, their environment. Prophet Assad just pointed out that that's what we call microevolution. Smaller changes to better your physicality and your location, your area, right? So, and it happens. It happens even with humans. It happens. I mean,
right.
Shit happens. That's just the way it goes. And of course, our DNA and our genes are going to better us for the areas that we live in, right? They're going to make us more adaptable to where we live. And that's the same thing goes throughout the entire animal kingdom, including us. So.
They have a snake in our zoo with 2 heads. And I always try and get them to answer, well, what do you think that is? And, they go, well, mutations are always bad. And I'm like, really? There's people with 2 different color eyes, and it really doesn't hurt anybody, but that's proof of mutation happening.
David Bowie was one of them.
Oh, he was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2 different color eyes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like David Bowie, so I have to,
Me too.
To go back and look. But no, I mean, so to me, yeah, like evolution, like there's the word in progress. But to me, for people to fight over those little things, there's a million videos on both sides about that, but they're not getting anywhere. That's another reason I started to, like, I watched Atheist YouTube for years, never said anything, never got involved, but I think it's stalled out. Like I said, there are new people doing newer stuff, talking about better things and pointing out more, and that's what needs to be done, because you're talking about the same subjects over again, like, where did we come from? That's been said for so many years. I can't. I've heard it from the beginning, and I can't believe it's still around. And I can't believe. But I think they have to keep that up, because if they drop the facade, it shows a crack in their armor, and they can't let that happen. None of them can break character.
Right. So. Just so you know, Chubs, Miss Sassy is in the chat right now, and she just wanted to say thank you to you for showing your support for her.
Oh, always welcome. I'm always happy to help people out. I try and pop up in everybody's comment section, and I don't get to watch all the videos, but like I said, I love what everybody's doing. And
wish I could.
Yeah, there's not enough time in the day, but we need these people. We need because everybody has a different aspect to what's going on. And I tried to bring what is a family man who doesn't need to know all about evolution or thermodynamics, or like, that's not going to help me no matter how much you talk about it. But they can't let that go, because to me, again, that's all they have is things nobody can prove. Nobody can go back in time and show who created everything. You can tell me what you think, I'll tell you what I think, but they harp on it, and they try and bring us down, like, emotionally. Like, I've seen a lot of people, cry at the end of conversations where it's like, because you can't get through. And we're called idiots, and I'm tired of being called an idiot, because, that, what does that prove? What does that help?
Nothing.
But, right. And
they have to resort to ad homs, dude, when they don't have any good arguments.
Oh, I think it was a couple of days ago, G-Man was on a show against Jake from Hugo and Jake, and kept calling him a moron. And even Jim from the show stopped him. And it's like, okay, yeah, like, why are you going there? Like, myself, I did test very low intelligent wise. I take a little offense to it, but I'm not going to go and jump on him about that. But I hear it all the time. And that's another reason, like, we need to step in and stop that kind of thing. But I think we're getting bogged down in the community. It's not our fault, but trying to battle the science of it all. But that doesn't help the people who are trying to live a normal life, or somebody who may be, like, in the LGBT community, and they're just getting harassed. They can't get a word out. I have a gay uncle, and he doesn't go near churches because he knows he's going to be looked at different. And when he does go, it does happen. And I fight for that, because that's ridiculous. Like, you know, they're demeaning human beings all because of religion. It goes back to their book. Again, God needed to write a book, which, okay. But so that's where I'm coming from. I'm trying to show that even normal people are trying to look at this in a decent way, and we're just trying to be heard. And I've been going at it for so long. You know, like I said, it's about 32 years I've been an atheist, and couldn't say it forever. I still get called a heathen to this day. And there's a lot of holy rollers.
My friend, wear it proudly.
Oh, I do. I put it on my Facebook, and let me tell you, I lost a lot of friends because going to Catholic school, it was all boys, and we have sister schools, so you have girls, all girl schools. I had the same friends, you know, a couple years ago, and I would start putting little nuggets on like Facebook about atheist things, and I started to lose friends. Like, they really don't want to, like, I'm bad news apparently, and they didn't ask me anything about it. They didn't ask me why. They didn't want to talk. And it's like, okay, you're supposed to be my friends. People like on the internet who I don't know are way more supportive than that, and I don't even know them. So it's not getting any better from where I'm sitting as far as the way we're looked at. And well, again, like the morality thing on every level, like, we're just not good people by proxy. And it's like, really? So I'm trying to get.
That's what they say.
Well, yeah, we know better, but
yeah.
You know, it's funny. I'm the kind of person that I'll hold the door open for people, and any person, old, young, any color, shape, whatever. And I watch very prowess people not do these little things and not help people. There's a big homeless problem down here in New Orleans. We have tent cities under bridges. And I took a picture one time of at least 15 tents under a bridge right near the Superdome. And across the street was a church. And I was trying to point out the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Nobody commented. Nobody said anything as far as the religious go. And to me, that's the problem. Like, they're so high and mighty, but they don't truly help anybody. You know, and I see people on our side trying to help with, you know, maybe a GoFundMe or something like that, where we're going out of our way to just try and be nice. And it's funny, we're labeled the bad person. So one of my hopes is to break that mold for anybody thinking about it. Like, you need to see who you are as a person, no matter what that ultimate label might be. Right. You know, and that's why I started speaking out and, you know, going into maybe a debate or a conversation, or just trying to prevent facts. And they don't like facts too much, because they'll always say, where'd you get that from? And then their answer is they got that from the Bible. It's like, oh, okay. And they don't like to bring up the Council of Nicaea, by the way, where after all these books are written, other people, humans, got together to see what books to put in their book. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of a flawed system. And they like to say, well, you know, the Bible is the best-selling book. Well, if you put my book in every hotel in the world, I guess it'd be big too. You know, like that, the stuff they go by just doesn't. I can't stand it. And
yeah, I hear you.
So that's kind of, you know, the overview of my general story of where I'm at, where I come from, what I've been dealing with, and, you know, being able to be a father and husband as an atheist, and not letting that get in the way. You know, when I did the first marriage in the church, you have to see a priest before and do like a class. Yep. And I went through all that just to make everybody happy. And by the way, the only time I was ever asked to be the best man in a wedding, the guy asked me not to do it, because when his priest asked him if the best man and the maid of honor were religious, he said, I couldn't tell him anything but the truth, so I can't. And because of that, I've never been the best man.
He should tell the truth. Truth is usually preferable.
Oh, no, I understand that. I like telling that story because it's funny that, you know, like, that's what stopped you. Like, you could have told the truth, and honestly, they don't care. Like, they're not going to tell you can't do that. But Those are the little things, like being an atheist can get you into any situation, even trying to be somebody's best man, where they're like, no, you can't. And it's like, okay, well, our maid of honor was like Lutheran, and our best man was Presbyterian, and nobody cared, but whatever. So little things, they all add up at the end. And, so there you go. That's my general story.
Wow, dude. So I think it's good that you got out of it at an early age, because it led you to far more reasonable thought patterns, definitely in the end. And I'm sorry that you had to lose a bunch of people because you came out, little bits at a time, like you were saying on Facebook and stuff like that. Have you lost any family members? Like, have any of your family members stopped communicating with you, or things like that?
Direct family, not too much. I have a very small family, but I had a bigger amount of friends, and that was definitely happened there. And not just Facebook, but in real life, where like I noticed I would stop getting invited to certain events with certain people involved, and it made sense after a while. I didn't notice at the time, but then I'd find out through other people, like, they didn't, want to invite you because the after party was at a church. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been to many weddings and funerals where I might not make the sign of the cross, but I don't actually say anything. I just sit there and let everything happen. That's what I did through high school. I just bowed my head and let everybody do their thing. And every blue moon, actually not too often, but when you don't make the sign of the cross, I get a couple looks and see people talking. And it's funny, again, they wouldn't ask me. They would just mumble to each other. And I'm like, oh, you can just ask me about it. I'll tell you what you want to know.
That's funny. I wonder what they do if you made something like if you did like an upside down cross.
Right.
Or a Star of David or something.
Tell you what, it didn't help that I like heavy metal. Like, people thought I was worshiping Satan and stuff. And I'm like, no, I just like Metallica, dude. That's not.
Yeah. Actually, who was it? It was, I think it was the comedian Bobcat Goldthwait, who played Zed in the Police Academy movies, the biker guy who turned into a cop. And he goes, yeah, I could just see Beelzebub down there in the bowels of hell going, I need a new rock song. I know. Hang on. We are the world. We are the children. Like the devil writes all rock music. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's actually pretty funny.
Funny though, let me use him to tell you something. Bobcat Goldthwait got into Bigfoot recently in the last couple of years, and I actually been into they call it the Bigfoot community, but
I saw some of that on your channel, actually.
Yeah, I love the outdoors, and
me too.
I've always found that fascinating. And a lot of people in the community think Bigfoot's the Nephilim, and they were the giants spoken about, that the angels came down and thought women were beautiful, and they survived the flood, and that's who Bigfoot is.
Oh yeah, sure. Of course they did. They grew water wings, and they were able to float around for the time that the flood was there, right? Yeah. No, I think if Bigfoot is real, and I don't really see any convincing evidence yet, but I mean, if he is real, he would be they figured he could be Gigantopithecus.
That's one
ape,
that was in like a 10-foot gorilla from China from 10,000 years ago that might have crossed the land bridge and to the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, that's one thought.
That's right. I mean, I'm sure my friend Prophet of Zod, who's also in the chat, would have seen him on his way down. So, because he had to go through Alaska.
Yeah, there was one guy on the TV show Finding Bigfoot, and he said there's actually more proof for Bigfoot than Jesus, because we actually have footprints and pictures.
Yeah, right.
But
I think I saw that episode too, because I actually used to watch that too. I was a little bit into cryptozoology for a little while, because it's interesting. I don't know if I believe it all, but it's fairly interesting anyways. And you never know. New species are found all the time, right? So you never know.
Exactly right. But sometimes that community is as bad as the religious. Like now they believe Bigfoot can teleport, cloak himself, turn into orbs. I'm not joking.
Wow. Bigfoot takes a turn on the crazy train. That's just, wow.
Yeah,
They teleport.
They turn into trees. They can cloak like the predator. It's amazing what they think. But the Nephilim thing is really big.
That's crazy. Wow. Nephilim.
So,
I'll be honest with you. I've never heard that one before. That's a new one.
Yeah, and I brought up the Noah, like, wouldn't they have died in the flood? And they said, well, they were giants, so they could have stood up. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Okay. There's an answer for everything. I find that amazing. There's always an answer. There's always been an answer, and it never ends. So
yeah, but are the answers correct? That's kind of what we got to find out. Because I care about what's true, right? Not
exactly.
So yeah. Is there anything else you want to say at all, or maybe shill out your channel and have people go take a look?
Okay. Well, my channel is actually for fun, entertainment, and facts. From comic book reviews to gun reviews to Bigfoot stuff, or I don't hang my hat on anything.
Right.
So. Because people need a break from the normal stuff, and I'm trying to give that break. So if people want to check it out, that's what my channel's about.
Do you think you might actually start doing atheistic type content? Or
maybe. I think there's enough people right now doing it where I don't need to step in, but I show my support, and if people need me to, like I said, I've been in a debate or two because I'm trying to help, but there's nothing I could add that the people out there aren't adding right now.
Right.
As far as the content goes. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was having a rough time trying to figure out what I wanted to do to chip into the community. And I figured I didn't see too many channels. I know there's a couple, but not too many channels talking to people about why they left religion. So I thought, I like talking to people, so that would be a good thing for me to do.
Yeah, I think that
thing, right? So
that's why I think your channel really is good and works, because you stop on that topic of, okay, well, what were you going through when this happened, and how did you do it? And like you said, to help people on the fence. And that's one thing I want to do, is try and tell people, like, you don't have to decide right away. You don't have, like, it took me a long time to say the word atheist. It wasn't even really used back when I was young, but I actually took the time. I didn't just go, okay, this is fake. No, I actually paid attention even more and got all A's in religion in high school, mostly because it's just information. You just who was the apostles, and it's not that hard. But I didn't outright just push everything away. I kept going to church on my own a little, for a couple of years, but with Catholicism, it's repetitive, as everybody has heard. Like, it's just over and over again. Like, people bring up the rosary, which I told people is actually, it's made to repeat, but that's more of a meditative thing. Like, you repeat all that, but you also are supposed to think in your mind of what you want to pray for. But I've had people go, well, I'm praying so I get this job I applied for. And I'm like, that's what you're praying for? Like, sure. That's top billing. I mean, are you kidding me? There's,
hey, it'll work just as well as not praying.
Exactly. So yeah, everybody just think, reach out. There's a lot of us out there, some of us who have been doing it for a while, that will just listen. I've done a lot of just listening, and I find that helps people out a lot too, because there's nobody to go to.
That's right. Well, we've got a pretty good community, I think, going here anyways. I know there's been some upheaval and turmoil, and everyone's kind of going at each other recently. But up until that point, I found that most people were great. And I've met some wonderful, fantastic, humanistic, loving, caring people in my journeys doing this, right? And one of them that I've actually met in person is in the chat right now. And that would be, of course, Prophet of Zod. And when I chatted with him, it was really cool getting to know him at first. And I've chatted with many of the people that everyone knows. And I'm glad I started to do this, and I'm glad I went down to Texas to meet them all. And because it just solidified the thoughts I had about them as being great human beings anyways.
Yeah, I've actually had over emails, but like Aaron Raw has responded, me and him talked a little bit, because
Sure.
when I told him I was from Louisiana, he's like, "Oh my God, poor you," because but he was not. Everybody's really nice, and I think we do have a great community. Intention's going to happen, and getting through it is the key, and so no, actually, there's not too many meetups that happen here, and I've looked around, and there is a couple. Like I looked up, like for New Orleans, like atheist stuff, and they go to yoga and stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Atheist, hot yoga with atheists.
Right. So there's no real meetups, and so I haven't really got to meet in person anybody yet, but I'm hoping to change that because I am close to Texas. So
I was just gonna say, man, come out to the Faithless Forum next year. And
where's it located exactly?
Shake your hand. I think that I'm pretty sure. I was just talking with Jamie Boone a couple days ago when I did my big fundraiser thing for the Amazon. I think it's probably going to be in Dallas again. But then, we're going to take all the party and stuff and head back down to Austin, which is the same thing that we did last year, and hanging out at everyone's houses and stuff like that. And, drinking some beers together, shooting the shit. Matt Dillahunty's got a hot tub, so you can jump in there if you want to. Some really great memories from that, man. I think it was well worth the money that I spent to go down there, and I'm going to spend it again and go down next year. So I'll be there for sure, and it's probably in April, usually mid to late April they do it, because it's not stupid hot yet, but it was still fairly hot when I was there. Not like I'm used to the weather here in the Pacific Northwest where it's still moderately cool, but we do get those days where it gets hot. But dude, if you can make it, do it. It would be great to shake your hand, give you a big hug, and say, "Hey, man,"
I'm definitely going to put that on my list for next year, man.
Yeah. Oh, and Prophet Azad just said he's definitely staying longer next time. Yeah, me too, man. I think I'm going to do 2 weeks if I can, or at least a week and a half. Because it wasn't enough time. I was just getting to know people super well, especially a lot of the people that I really admire and respect. And I wished it could have gone on longer. I'm like, fuck, if I could move here, if my company, which is GFL, which stands for Green for Life, that's what I do. I'm a chemical analyst for them. If they'd open up a branch down there that I could run for the antifreeze department in the laboratory, I would fucking move to Austin in a heartbeat. That city is just unbelievable. Oh
yeah, it's nice and it's like Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, very clean. I love it. Been there a lot.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so maybe we'll see you there next year, dude.
I am going to try my hardest.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Sassy's going through some rough times. She's still dealing with, of course, becoming an ex-Christian. She's dealing with moving. She's dealing with some people that have kind of gotten under her skin. So she's not in the best frame of mind, but Sassy, just understand, okay? There's lots of us here that care about you, and we are here for you at the drop of a hat if you need it. If you need financial help, I just donated to 2 causes today to try and help people like Ansgar Odinson. He needed some help because of the accident he was in. I did the rainforest one. I donated finally for that one. So there's always people that can help you out in any way we possibly can, even if you just need to talk to someone on the phone for a while for some moral support. We're here for you, girl.
That's right.
So keep that in mind. That's what this community is about. Okay, we're about being there for each other. Okay, especially through the rough times, because we've all been through them, and it sucks. Right? So
that's right.
So we get it. Anyway,
absolutely.
Anyway, Chubs, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this with me today, man. It was really great to get to talk to you.
And I'm very grateful you let me come on and talk.
Oh, it wasn't a let thing. I was insisting, wasn't I? I'm always looking for people that have great stories to tell, because it'll help somebody somewhere. And I've gotten messages now. I'm getting more all the time. I just stumbled on your channel. I heard some of the stories and I related to some, and it's helped me. I get these messages now, and that's what kind of makes me kind of go, oh, all right, what I'm doing is actually meaningful, and that's what keeps me doing it. So
yeah, everybody's story is different, so they need to hear every kind of story. That's how I think of it.
Exactly. And yours was another one, right? So thanks again, man, for doing this with me. Like I said before, because I can't do an after party today because it's a friend of ours' birthday. And then, of course, my best buddy Mikey's birthday's next weekend. But I told him I was going to be late because I'm going to do an after party next weekend, so he can just suck it. But anyways, I think I told you earlier, I'm pretty sure I told you earlier that you're welcome to jump into any of the after parties that I throw.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. We got some great people you'll meet in there. Just I warn you ahead of time, watch out for Duke Bonanza. He's a maniac, and I love him, but he's like a brother to me. So anyways, Inquisitive Quandary has been shilling out your Twitter and your YouTube channel all through this.
Thank you.
Yeah, IQ's my moderator extraordinaire. Anyways, again, man, thank you very much for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know you a little better.
Very welcome. Thank you for listening.
My pleasure, man. I love listening to these things, and I always try to offer whatever advice I can too, I guess. But also, guys, thank you very much for hanging out. And Sassy, yes, depression sucks, but you've always got people to lean on. Just keep that in mind, okay? Because we love you. Right? Your cheerfulness and brightfulness has brought a lot of people out of the doldrums, just so you know that. All right, guys, there won't be an after party, as I was saying earlier, because I have to take off to a party. So expect one, though, on Monday when I interview Jeff Tadlock, who you guys may or may not know. He's also known as Stairway to Reason on YouTube. And he's a pretty cool guy, and we'll be talking to him on Monday. So we'll see you guys then. And until next time, hang on, a couple more things. I mentioned him, I think, at the beginning, where I do have a PayPal me if you do want to help support my show. And you can also do that by grabbing something for me on my Amazon wish list. I don't have a whole lot in there because really I'm not that needy, but just a few things, which I'll probably end up picking up too, some of them anyways. The headphones, I think, is the most important because I'm stuck with these cheap-ass ones I got at Walmart for like $9. But the cord's like 2.5 feet long, so I have to literally hover over my computer for it to work properly. But anyways, guys, thanks again for tuning in and hanging out with us. And like I always say at the end of these things, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And you can thank Christopher Hitchens for that, Jim. We'll see you guys next time.